everyone. Today I wanted to talk for a minute about one of my favorite video games, but instead of being nice and fun and positive, I wanted to talk today about all the things I dislike about it. More specifically, I wanted to analyze this game's very direct claim that it's a noir. Well, film noir is a pretty shifty genre in the first place. Some purists feel that the genre died in the 60s, while others feel that it lives on today, although usually in color. I think that even if the genre has changed with black and white having gone nearly completely out of style, there are still elements of noir in modern films, and contrary to popular belief, these elements are clearly defined rules of noir that give us a pretty strong idea of what we're dealing with when it comes to a film's genre. These ideas come from Altman's theory of semantics versus syntax. This theory divides elements of a genre into two types, semantics and syntax. The semantics are more physical, superficial ideas of what a genre looks like or contains. The syntax, however, refers to more elements of story, like theme. For example, if I told you we were going to see a movie with cowboys, guns, and horses set in Texas, that's a list of semantic elements, and you'd probably guess that the movie is a western due to that description. However, if I told you that we were going to see a movie about a man's fight against corruption and violence, even though it was never really a fight he asked for, assuming you're a nerd like me, you'd probably recognize that as a noir film because of the syntax. It turns out the movie I'm describing is No Country for Old Men, which really is both a western and a noir. Using that method, I've made a relatively simple explanation of film noir with 4 semantic elements and 4 syntactic elements, as you can see here. Of course, none of these elements are vital, and something can be noir without being all of these. But the title of this video literally says this is a brief analysis, so I'm not going to take any crap about my list. These things aren't requirements, just guidelines. So I want to go through the list and find out if LA Noire meets each of the guidelines, or more specifically, if it is noir or not. I'm sorry, that was awful. Let's start with black and white. Many neo-noir films are in color, but black and white is still one of the first things you think of when you think of film noir. Yes, this game has an option to play in black and white, so right off the bat we can see that this is noir. However, the black and white isn't powerful. There aren't many dynamic or meaningful shots. Cutscenes do contain hints of cinematography, but where's the classic noir shot of the window blind's shadow? I think that this was a failure in the game, especially when we're outside of cutscenes and actually playing, interactively, so that's a not. Noir could take place in any setting, but the seedy side of 1940s LA is a classic location and it is a beautiful recreation. I think the detailed landscapes might be one of the best things about this game, so this is definitely noir. Does this game have violence and dark plot elements? Yes, they're just totally irrelevant. This game had a subplot where girls were being brutally murdered in odd and ritualistic ways, and that is definitely the makings of a great neo-noir plot. When it came time to write the script, though, I realized I'd forgotten the most important part of the whodunit, which is who did it. So I went to Google to find out, and imagine my shock when the relatively detailed description of this game's plot on its own Wikipedia page doesn't even mention this plotline, outside of what might be referring to it, which is major murder case. You know, as opposed to all those tiny murder cases that nobody cares about. I'd be concerned that I somehow dreamed up the whole thing if there wasn't a murdered girl on the poster. This totally glosses over the best part of the game, and I can't blame them. It's really, really easy to gloss over because in the end it's all just a stepping stone to Phelps' promotion, which isn't even vital to the rest of the plot. The real plot of this game is a scam on military veterans. There's also this heroin thing, but it's nearly a red herring since in the end it's all about that scam. Yes, scamming military veterans is a really, really shitty thing to do, and it could work for a crime genre, but let's be real. Fraud is not the most interesting crime. Dealing and using heroin is more interesting. Serial killers? Way, way more interesting. And yet totally ignored. However, I'll go ahead and give it a noir because dead bodies still made up a good chunk of the game, and I'm about to get a lot more critical, so I want it to be nice while I still can. Moving on to syntax, a common theme of noir films is the main character being helpless, caught in a cycle, trapped, stuff like that. Sunset Boulevard, Ministry of Fear, and Chinatown are all classic noir films in which the main character ends up destroyed by a series of events that would have been extremely hard to avoid. LA Noire fails on this front. Cole Phelps seems pretty in charge of his own destiny. That's a not. To say that Cole Phelps is morally ambiguous is a bit of a stretch, honestly. His only redeeming qualities are that he's committed to justice and that he looks good compared to his terrible partners. On one hand, he's a great detective and helps a lot of people via that skill, but on the other hand, he's only as good a detective as I am, and he's the one who cheated on his wife, so really maybe his only redeeming quality of justice doesn't even count. He's pretty much a full-blown asshole. Not only that, but all of the other bad guys are outright bad. They aren't questionable, so this one is really on the fence. I think it's obvious that they were trying to have morally ambiguous characters, but in the end they failed. I respect the balls it takes to have a rude player character, but this just didn't work out. I'm gonna go ahead and make this a not. Again, Elsa seems to be a failed attempt at a femme fatale. A femme fatale needs to have some sort of intentionality. She needs to be manipulative and vindictive, and contrary to popular belief, these qualities are much more important than sexuality. The true femme fatale of Notorious is Mrs. Sebastian. Norma Desmond is a femme fatale who the main character isn't attracted to. Elsa doesn't destroy Detective Phelps. Good old Cole does that on his own. Not only that, but there really isn't even any element of seduction at all because these characters have no chemistry. That plotline was so unconvincing that the first time I played this game, when the cutscene first appeared showing Cole wordlessly entering Elsa's apartment, I didn't even think it was a sex thing. I assumed it was indicative of some mysterious alliance, like maybe one of them was a double agent. I wasn't sure that he was having an affair until it was literally announced to me by the game. I would love to blame it on motion scan, but there are some pretty expressive moments at other points, so I'm not sure what they were thinking with this lack of performance. Lastly, the moral or message of the film. Most of the time, Noir makes a statement about society. Perhaps the most obvious example of this is
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
an iconic statement about crime and corruption. Sunset Boulevard, Drive, and Fargo also have these themes. LA Noire ends with Cole sacrificing himself in a final act of heroism. Sure, it's depressing, and sure, it makes us feel more sympathy for this flawed character, but I'm pretty sure it's not as hard-hitting as these other films. It's a good start, but it's just the end of a story rather than a moral like these other films had. What are we supposed to learn from Cole's story? What did this journey teach us about people or life? Nothing. The answer's nothing. We learned nothing. There are some problems with applying film analysis to video games. First of all, certain things are lost when a talented human being is not acting them. In this case, presumably talented human beings were acting, but somewhere down the line through motion scan, a lot of the detail of those performances was lost. Second, it's harder to build a composed shot, specifically in interactive situations versus cutscenes. Shadows and darkness play a huge role in noir films, but in the context of a video game, I need to be able to see. I think we've all ramped up our gamma from time to time to make a game easier. Another issue is that, in a film, the director has a lot more control over flow than a video game developer does. You can go months without playing a video game and then come back where you left off. You might start over if you make a mistake or lose your save. You might go to another location before you're done where you are and then come back, or use dialogue options in a disjointed order. If you really struggle with one puzzle or battle or storyline, it will take disproportionately long compared to the rest of the plot. For me, I missed the part of the tutorial that taught me how to make my partner, aka the CPU, drive the car, which would result in just a fade to black and then appearing at the destination. As a result, I ended up driving all over a life-size replication of 1947 LA with a poor navigation system and extremely moody driving mechanics. I'm convinced they took the mechanics from another game they just already finished and pasted them in, because that lead sled drove like a drag racer, making it pretty hard to follow traffic laws. I figured out the right way to do it about 3/4 of the way through, but by that point I was determined to finish my unintentional and pointless quest, and also I was greatly amused by how poor of a driver I was. But that's beside the point. My point is, a lot of these problems may not be the game's fault, but I still think that in the end, this isn't a proper noir. Is it still a good game? Yeah, I obviously like it since I started this off by saying it's one of my favorites, and I stand by this game as a major stepping stone of the history of video games, and not just because of its groundbreaking technology. However, I think LA Noire can only claim to be a crime drama with nods to the noir genre. I can't judge anyway since I love this game and think it has an amazing aesthetic, even if that aesthetic wasn't powerful enough to carry it to noir greatness. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is obviously way outside of what I've normally done before, but I wanted to test out the waters with some new stuff and see if you guys liked it. I know I enjoyed making it. I enjoyed playing this game again just to get some footage for the video, and I hope that I can do more stuff like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Like/subscribe/comment/promo me on Facebook. I don't know. Do whatever you want if you feel good about this. And thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.